Hey guys, what is up? Today we're going to be doing the Weber conversion swap on this 2.6 liter. It is a G54B motor. I'm going to be swapping the it's going to be the K614 because I have the automatic transmission. If I would have had the manual transmission, then it would be the Weber K610 swap. All right, so there's a few things needed for this. Let me show you. Okay, so since you're swapping to the Weber with them, you're supposed to have, apparently the old belief was like 2 PSI, but I think the new belief is around 4 PSI with lots of volumes, like gallons per hour. So the Carter, this is a Carter fuel pump. The P4070 is like the highly recommended pump for that. And I'm gonna install a new fuel filter. This is just something I picked up at O'Reilly's while I was picking up this. Apparently this mechanical fuel pump block-off plate works. This is the Mr. Gasket 1516. Apparently this works. We'll test that out to see if that works. I'll link all these down below, but stuff like this you can pick up at O'Reilly's. The fuel filter you can get at O'Reilly's. The Carter fuel pump is like 60 bucks or 50 bucks on Amazon. Not that bad of a deal. But I'm gonna start tearing into this thing and getting stuff out of the way, because the main benefit is you clean all this stuff up, all these vacuum lines and craziness. Even this ECU I think can go as well. So I'm gonna get a tripod, we're gonna set it up, and let's start tearing some stuff out of here. Okay, so we're gonna start taking hoses off. Again, I want to also reiterate that this is not my forte. I've never done this swap before. I don't know much about carburetors, but I see the question asked all the time in like the Dodge Raider community on Facebook. There's some forum posts about it, but there's not a lot. So this is me just trying to put this in video format so it might help somebody else in the future. Okay, so this carburetor, as you can see, is not, from my limited knowledge, anything like another carburetor. This thing has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, looks like 15 lines going to it, which seems a bit excessive. And from what I understand from the Weber, all you need is your fuel in. You can do a return line if you want, but I don't think it's needed. And then there's this line right here coming from this piece. This vacuum line runs down here. I think this is the one you keep. This vacuum line runs into here. You need to hook this up to the new carburetor. I believe that is your distributor timing whatever vacuum line. But a lot of the stuff can just go, you know. Another thing that's going to come in handy is this Dorman assorted vacuum caps. This is like the, what is it, 47388. This was at O'Reilly's as well. Bought that a long time ago, but I think it's going to come in quite a bit of handy. All right, so let's start unscrewing things and seeing, you know, what we can get off. I'm going to start up here up top with the Phillips. I could be going about this the whole wrong way, and I should just maybe take these bolts out and take the carburetor off and then unplug stuff. I don't know. All these little bolts are just screwing down. They're like screw down attachments for come on, get out of there. You don't want to come out. We can get this one out. Seems like it's holding a piece in that I need to get out of the way. To this clamp right here. And it looks like the evap clamp because it's going to the charcoal canister. This up here is a 10 millimeter. Let's get that off of the valve cover. Also put a new valve cover gasket on because it seemed to be leaking a lot. Okay, that's out of the way. This stuff I'll leave alone just until I figure out for sure if I need to keep that hooked up or anything. Let's start taking vacuum lines off, right? Okay, there's one. There's 2 lines up here that go down into it. I think they both go to it. Yeah. So let's take these lines out of here and then we can cap that stuff off. Okay, there's one off. There's another one off. Kind of fish those down through there. Get these out. This one's just gonna break off. It's not really like held on very well. And then this one goes to a T-fitting down here. Some kind of random little T-fitting there. Not sure what that's about. Just leave those over there for now. This can come out, and then that's to the other end of the T-fitting. And I'm gonna start capping things off with these Dorman caps. See if we can get the nuts off of here and get this carburetor out. Okay, these are 12 millimeter. Get them all loosened up. There's 4 of them. Let me zoom you in here. Oh, get me in there, come on. Okay. This one seems like it's a little tight for me to get any. I can't get behind it. Let me get a smaller 12 millimeter. All right, this 12 should have smaller walls. So maybe I can get it off with that. There we go. And I think these are the only 4 bolts that are holding it down, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Yep, that's it. Okay, so let's disconnect some fuel lines. Okay, that one's off. That one's off. Okay, so there's this vacuum line in the back right here that's holding it. Need to get that out. Okay, and then there's this throttle cable in the back here that I got to get off as well. And I think I might be able to, how should I do that? Need to be able to unscrew that. Let me get a Phillips in there. There's a little clamp on the back here with a Phillips head in it. It looks like maybe a Phillips head. Yeah, okay, it's unscrewing. Here we go. Then I can slip that, maybe unscrew it a little bit more. Okay, now I can get that throttle cable out of there. And then let's see where we're at now. We got some random vacuum lines still attached. I just want to be careful what I'm getting into the intake here. So there's a vacuum line in the rear here that's still attached to something. All right, there's a spring in the rear that I'm going to disconnect, and that way I can get this throttle cable out. This vacuum line, because it won't come out, I need to get a hold of it somehow and get it out of there. There we go, I got it out. Okay, that vacuum line's out. Now, all we have left is the throttle cable. I don't know how to get that out right now. And then there's the shifter linkage as well, which is connected to the throttle cable there. Okay, there's also other things like this electrical connector here, which needs to come out. So I think it's a, there we go, push that and pull maybe kind of situation. So that needs to come out. We got some random, that's fuel line. We got this vacuum line right here. If it'll come out. Okay, there's that one. Switch gears for a second. There's a little, you can see this Phillips head right here. This operates a clamp, it looks like, that I need to get off. Yeah, there we go. Maybe I can get that line off. Okay, that line's off. Okay, what else do we got? We still got 3 vacuum lines right here in like a bundle. That needs to come off, I believe, yeah. See this bundle of vacuum lines right here? Right here. Some blaster on those, loosen them up a little bit maybe. Get them lubed up so I can get them off of there. And I also need to get this one clamp off. This one clamp, come on. At least rotate, there we go. Okay, so now I can grab it full force. You know, full force, there we go. Slid that clamp off, now this line can come off. Okay, that line's off. Man, we're close. Okay, sorry, I wasn't recording. I got the throttle cable out. Now I just need to get the shift linkage out, and it looks like it's a little cotter pin down here. It's a little tiny cotter pin. Put that in there so it doesn't get lost. And then this should pop out like that. Okay, that is shift linkage. Okay, now all that's left holding it, I think, yeah, is these 3 vacuum lines right here. Let me zoom in for you. Yeah, there's these 3 vacuum lines right here, and they're like a triangle of doom, you know. And I'm like pulling, but because I want to try to keep it somewhat intact if I can. And we'll just kind of wiggle it, you know, see what we can get if we just wiggle it. Looks like we're getting about nothing. Oh, there we go. Look at that triangle of doom gone. Now, from what I understand, a lot of these vacuum lines need to be kind of traced back to the source and then capped off. So, also I need to block this off with something so nothing gets in there. The fuel filter box looks good. Okay, see if we can pull these frickers off. That one kind of, no, it stayed on. I just pulled I broke it. Broke that one too. Okay, we're off to a good start. This one's gonna break too. This one is gonna break too. Okay. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chase these vacuum wires down, then I'm gonna cap them off, then I'm gonna show you where they were so you can kind of get a sense of how many you have to cap off. Still haven't got everything capped off, but look at all these vacuum hoses that come out. Just one blob of them. There's more. Here's some more right here. So many vacuum hoses. I've had to buy so many frickin' vacuum caps. I don't know if there's a more economical way to do it, but I've been going to O'Reilly's and buying packs of these, like these that cost like $7. The dormant ones cost like $20. But okay, so I capped off this. I capped off the EGR over there. I believe that's EGR right there. This is some kind of, I'm not sure what that is, but it runs to what appears to be to this, it says 2 AC from here, so I'm not sure on that, but it had a vacuum line on either end, so I capped that off. Underneath the coolant intake there, I capped off both of those. I capped off these 2 right here and the third one underneath that you can kind of see. And then this was like a little Christmas tree of caps. There was a bunch of caps that needed to go on this piece right here. And then as you can see, the Weber carb is just kind of mocked up on there. Let me take this off for a second. Set it down over here. So it comes with 2 plates. This first one lines up right here. You see that lines up. And then you line up the holes here for you. Those holes are pretty much lined up there. You screw it in like that, then gasket, and then this one goes on top like that, and then carburetor goes on top of this. Now, return line, I don't think there's a return line on the Weber 3236, the one that I got. I don't think there's a return line. I think there's a vacuum line for the distributor. So I think this vacuum line stays, and so this is the fuel return line, I'm pretty sure. This is the main fuel line, and also this T-fitting back here, that T-fitting, this is a coolant port, I believe. Coolant will just come rushing out of here, I believe, so I need to plug this off. I believe I need to plug this off. Also, there's this hole right here that coolant comes out of to cool the carburetor, the Mikuni, and it gets blocked off by this red line. Now there is a hole right here, but that is not the hole that hole doesn't line up to this. This gets blocked off. But some people will tap this with an M8, like a grub screw, just like an Allen screw that's just like a blank, and it just screws down into it, and you would screw it past this level surface, and then you can put this on top. Another kind of small conundrum is the kickdown linkage for the automatic transmission is this. I'm not sure how it's going to hook up. I'll find out as I go. I'm just learning this whole process as I go, and you know, hopefully it can be helpful to somebody else watching me experience it, and maybe it'll help you along your process. Okay, I got the mechanical fuel pump out. Now it's time to see if this block off plate works. This is like the gasket here, and the gasket fits, so that's a good sign. And then that fits. It looks like that's going to work. That's the Mr. Gasket 1516. I'll link that down below too. Okay, so as it turns out, this won't work without modification. Bolts line right up, but this needs to be cut off, like right down here, because there's this cut off here. This needs to like sit into. So maybe I have to get a different one, or just modify this and cut it down.
one of the two.
Okay, so I got the block off plate in there. I got a Felpro, I think it's a 70627 gasket, little blue Felpro gasket. I'll link it down below as well. And then I just traced it on the back side of that 1516 block off plate, and then used a grinder and cut it out. Fits pretty good. Fuel pump block off plate is installed. All the vacuum caps are on. The adapter plates are kind of mocked up on here. I haven't screwed them in. Another thing I capped off is this 2 carb hole right there. And that's this big piece right here that goes over your valve cover like this and into your, like the evap, the charcoal canister line from your carb. The Weber 3236 that I got doesn't have that. All it has is the fuel in and then the vacuum from this, which is your distributor advanced vacuum, which I'll run this vacuum line to, or get a new line maybe. This line seems fine, but you never know. At the back of your cover, there is this hose that comes right here. It's like a crankcase breather, so a lot of the fumes and stuff get pumped back into the Mikuni carburetor. You're gonna wanna keep this for the Weber install, but it's not long enough. So I just bought a longer hose and I'll cut off what I don't need. But this hose will just go on here, and the other end will go in the little white plastic adapter that comes in your 3236 kit that goes into the bottom of the Weber carb, and I'll show you that. I don't know if I mentioned the reason you don't want that, you don't want to just leave that hose hanging, is a bunch of gunk and vapor and gas and fumes get out, and it's just going to make a mess of your engine bay. And as you can tell, I love a clean engine bay. Okay, hyper clean. You can tell I'm OCD about that. So, you know, shut your butts. Okay, now here's my fuel pump setup. This is the Carter P4070. What I did was I did one of those riv nut guns, and I put 3 of the M8 rivets into that wall there. I don't know, it's like behind it's like right in front of the rear seat. And then that wire right there is the positive wire, and that was able to run through. There's a grommet right there in that little circle. There's a grommet right there that I was able to take out and just run that wire into for a positive wire. Also, I have this clamp that I'm gonna clamp up to the top there to keep the fuel line kind of level. And then I have an inline filter right there. So I didn't want to run it on the frame rail because there wasn't a lot of room. So I have it set up there so fuel goes in right there and then out into the fuel line, bends right there very conveniently. So it works out pretty well. That goes up to the motor, of course. So let me take you inside and show you where this wire comes out. Okay, so the wire that's run into that grommet comes out right here. The grommet is actually like back here somewhere, but if you just take some wire and shove it this way through that grommet hole, you'll be able to fish it through one of these holes. What I did was just kind of fish it through here, and then I fed it back into this little circle hole because it's closer to the ground, and I can kind of just run it level. And then along the sill plate here. Now all I got to do is figure out a 12-volt switched power source for that wire. There's plenty of I made sure I got plenty of wire to run it wherever I need to. And then I need to find a 12-volt switch for the Weber carburetor. And then the carburetor goes in. And we hook up throttle, we hook up fuel, and we hook up that electronic choke. I also ended up doing the little grub screw in here. I just used a M8 1.25 tap and just tapped down in there with some WD-40 and then threaded that thing in there. And it's below the surface, so it's not going to stick up and cause any clearance issues. All right, so Weber carb is in there, mocked up, looks pretty good. Got the fuel line ran to it, and then this, I just used the stock vacuum line from the distributor, ran it to that plug right here. And then for the electric choke, I just ran black wire with the whatever this crimp style is, or whatever this spade connector, whatever, all the way down and around here. And then I found out that these 2 wires, so if you're looking at this, that is the top, here's the bottom of the connector, and the 2 black and white wires, I think they're black and white, I'm colorblind, guys, so forgive me, but those 2 wires are 12-volt switched. So you can run electric choke off one of those, and then the fuel pump I have running off one as well. And I ran the fuel pump wire through this little grommet down here. I don't know if that's stock or if the previous owner did that. But now I'm just gonna start her up, see if she starts. That was literally the first start, and it just turned right over. Okay, so it's running pretty smooth. I still need to delete the EGR, and I'm going to figure out the throttle cable. I still can't drive it yet. I have to bleed the brakes and everything. I've never driven this truck ever. Okay, so brief kind of recap. Vacuum lines are all plugged off. I just farted. Vacuum lines are all plugged off. Wire for the fuel pump came in. I ran it through this grommet right here. I don't know if that's a stock grommet or if the previous owner made that, but I ran that through there. And then the electric choke wire I ran, and I routed them both around here. Electric choke wire. For the gaskets, I didn't film putting on the adapter plates in the gasket, but they're right there. All I used was a little bit of that red and tacky, just kind of lightly coated the gasket and stuck it on there. It said to use grease or some kind of sealant, so I got grease laying around. Let's use that. So that's all there is there. There's 3 gaskets, each double-sided with grease. Another thing, not sure if it's the correct way at all, but I plugged this off with just a big screw and the clamp. This is the coolant line. It's that coolant line that runs back to that T right there. I ended up using the vacuum line for the distributor from the box. It came in the box, and I just used that. I kept the stock fuel line here, the fuel input line. I just kept that stock. EGR, it's just open right here, but I'm planning on taking it out, and they include, for some reason, 2 EGR block off, and these are heavy. These are big, heavy pieces of metal. There's 2 of these in this bag, and these are to block off that EGR down there. Right there. Got to cap that back. I thought that might have been an issue when I was trying to start it, but I got it started. It's running really well. The very first time I cranked it over, it started. I let the fuel pump run for a few seconds and then started, and it started right up. It was pretty crazy, but it was running rough, and I had to adjust the throttle or the air fuel screw down here. Had to adjust that air fuel screw right there. And then also what was happening to me was I would start it and it would die immediately, and I had to adjust. Man, can you see it? Crap. Okay, that screw right under there at the tip of my finger, that screw, it kind of sets your idle, I guess. A lower angle somewhere on it. That screw right there, it adjusts basically the position of your throttle when it's open and closed. Okay, so figured out the throttle linkage. There was this mystery bracket, and that was in the box, this gold bracket right here. And I was like, where does it go? I saw a lot of videos of people with these brackets on the valve cover. It would like adjust the length of the cable to take all the slack out of it. But in this case, this one goes on the actual carburetor just like that. And then the top, it holds your, let me get my, the top holds your throttle linkage there. And then it goes straight into the carb. So I hope this video is helpful. I remember when I was ready to undertake this project, knowing next to nothing about carburetors, trying to figure it out. Here's another Dodge right here. And I couldn't find anything online to film, so I filmed it, and hopefully this will help you out, guys. Any questions you have, throw them in the comments down below. I'll try to answer them, and or we'll have Dave answer them. This is the genius right here.
Yeah, sure.
Dave and Dale were helping me a lot. Okay, but yeah, that is it. This is your goddamn. This also hit the like button if this thing's ever hit you in the head. I'm sick and tired of that thing. But yeah, that's all set up, guys. Again, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.